whatever we do, it's the people delivering the work, right? And they are our reputation.
Yes.
So people first should be in everything. So we have the books, we have training budget, we have sharing knowledge. It's all about their personal journey. They can write blog posts, they can, so we basically nurture them as much as possible.
Yeah.
That is really the vibe you will see at Xebia. And also if you walk into our offices, it doesn't feel like an office. It feels like a home.
Welcome to Business Ninjas, brought to you by WriteForMe, where you'll hear from business leaders who are out there growing their business and slaying it every day. Learn from the masters. Let's get started.
Hello, everybody. This is John Gerard with the Business Ninjas podcast. I'm here today with Steyn Heskes. Steyn, really great to have you. He's from a company called Xebia based in Amsterdam, but really a global footprint, and very excited to have you here on the show today.
Thanks a lot, John. Thanks for the invite, and happy that we have this podcast right now. So excited. Looking forward to it.
Wonderful and wide-ranging conversation when we were preparing for this, and so I'm
Absolutely.
hoping that we can touch on all the things that we discussed. It was just a fascinating story that you guys have, and lots of interesting parallels to some U.S. businesses I think we both know. So I'd like to start us off just by asking you to talk a little bit about Xebia and its history. It's as you said, based I think in Amsterdam, but really a truly global company, and just starting to break into the U.S. market. So can you tell me a little bit about the company and its history and what it is that you guys do?
Yeah, so Xebia, and you spelled with an X, by the way. Xebia started off in 2001, so that's quite a while ago in the Netherlands, with one guy, the founder, and he said, okay, I want to start a business, but I want to do it with 4 other people who were very strong Java developers back then. And he said, okay, you're the best in the market. I want to start this company with you. The one thing you need to do is share your knowledge. Jump on stage, share your knowledge with an audience, right? In the community, I don't care. That's what we need to do, right? Then you will become an authority in your field. And that's the philosophy of the company, and it still is. So that's how we started off. And we built that Java business. Then, of course, other business units were founded. Why? Agile working, Agile or Scrum became a thing. So we started doing that, and we worked with the best people in the world in that. So we were one of the first to do that also in Europe. Amazing. And we actually scaled this also globally in order to help companies to implement this type of working and collaboration internally. So then, of course, sorry?
I was just going to say, that's fascinating. So I'm sorry to interject, but could you, just to kind of go a little bit, one layer deeper here, I'm curious, what kinds of projects were those? Primarily development projects, or sort of setting up development teams to deploy Agile Scrum processes, or like where was the sweet spot, and what has that evolved into?
Yeah, so in technology, I think everyone will recognize this. You're not going for your goal in one run, right? So you set up sprints. You need to make very small chunks of work that you can actually achieve and focus on that. So every week or every day or every whatever your timeline is for every sprint, you can focus on that. And that way you're agile, because every time you can review your sprint and look forward, what is important right now, where do we stand, and how are we going to work in the most efficient or most logical way towards our goal. So we've been doing that a lot, and there was a lot of traction in the market, a lot of demand, because we were not used to working like that. And I have the feeling, I'm also working in the commercial side, even sales teams work like that these days.
That's right.
So
that's true. It's sort of spread everywhere across the entire organization, hasn't it?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fascinating. So, okay, that's wonderful. So from those humble beginnings 20 plus years ago, the company grew quite a bit. And how big are you right now? And what are your plans? It sounds like the US is on the radar now as someplace that you're going this year. But tell us about how big the company has gotten.
So today we are around 6,300 people worldwide, so across the globe. We grew naturally or organically over the past years with around 22% a year.
Yeah.
But we also have a buy strategy. So we are backed by private equity, and what we look for in the market is if there's companies that have or share the same values with us. So which is being an authority in your field. So you want to be or strive to be the number one or number two in your field. You are seen as that authority. You share knowledge, so you organize events or people know you for what you do, and we have the feeling, oh, cool. And also what we value a lot is people. So we have a people first value also internally. So people can buy as much books as they want, and they have a training budget, etc. So we really stimulate them. So it's not about the journey of our company. It's about the individual journey of all the consultants. So they can become that authority. They should be able to absorb as much information as possible about their subject that they want to be a subject matter expert in order to facilitate that.
Well, I'm sorry to interrupt again. I wanted to just make sure that our listeners kind of caught all that, just because of how profound it is. In our preparations, I was frankly pretty blown away at the way that you guys have a set of values that you tie back to what you actually do on a day-to-day basis. There's so many businesses out there, I think, for whom values are kind of platitudes or posters on the wall that kind of get ignored, right? And this was a really stunning example for me of a business that actually thinks a lot about its values. And based on what I could see and hear in your story, it really is the sort of very disciplined adherence to these values that has created the brand that you have and been responsible for the growth. And what I'd like to do, I want to actually spend a good chunk of time on the values. I want to maybe before we do that, just get a quick sense of you and your place in the organization. And I know that you've been tasked with some interesting goals in the U.S. And so could you just talk a little bit about your your time at the business and what it is that you do there and what your plans are for this year?
Yeah, and should I first also focus a bit on the growth that you were saying? So why are we moving to America? So first over that, then maybe about my role, and then we go to the values. And okay,
that would be perfect. That's a great thread, a great narrative thread.
Okay, good. So should I start again with when we were founded and basically finish that?
Let me just see what I can do.
Make it short.
Yeah, what I'll do is I will, let me sort of segue us here. So I'll just ask you, okay, yeah, just you'll follow my lead here, okay?
Yeah, good.
Okay, okay, so that's a fascinating growth story. Keeping up that 22% annually for many years is really a stunning achievement. And I know that growth is actually continuing and that you're central to that. So would love to hear a little bit more about the ambitions this year. It sounds like to move into the U.S. Sounds like you're going to be central to that move. Can you tell us a little bit more about that move to the U.S.? Why now? What is the unique value proposition that you guys hope to bring to the U.S. market? And then a little bit more about your role in helping to achieve that goal.
Definitely. So Xebia is a global company, but still today 40% of our revenue comes from the Netherlands, which is a lot, right? And only 20% is coming from the United States, while the United States covers 40% of the global IT business. So it made sense to invest more in the United States. We see so much potential, right? The largest companies in the world are vested there also. So we should be there. So that's why we decided to move our headquarters from the Netherlands towards the United States. So in Atlanta, also our global leadership is going to move there. And we really want to focus on building out our business there. So it's a quite new market for us. So we are doing already, so 20% of our business there. but this should grow to, let's say, 50% in the coming year. So this is our core focus. And we decided to go to Atlanta, right, for 3 reasons also. First, there's a lot of talent, right? So with Georgia Tech, I think hundreds of thousands of students graduate every year, right? Yeah. So that's where we want to be. It's also, there's a very high concentration of headquarters of Fortune 500 companies. So that's also interesting. And the last thing, the flights. So we need to fly a lot in our company with the leadership teams. Atlanta has a great airport. We have a direct flight to Amsterdam, but also for colleagues from other parts in the world, right? It's just a very convenient place to be.
That sounds like a perfect mix of all the right things. And yeah, I know Atlanta has really become a hotbed on the tech resources and candidates for the kinds of work that you do, which is great. Maybe you'll do some work with Coca-Cola, who's based there and headquartered there. So that would be great. And I totally get it on the airport hub. It's funny, not all U.S. airport hubs are great, but Atlanta really is. So that's going to be fantastic. So and then you, as I understand it, have sort of been tasked with being the what do they call that, like the ahead team, and coming and sort of paving the way for the organization to move into the U.S. Tell us a little bit more about your tenure at Xebia. How long have you been there? What kinds of roles have you had, and why are you the one who's helping to make this push into the U.S. right now?
Yeah, so there are several business units that are expanding towards the United States, and I'm representing the cloud and data business that we have. While there's also other business units, right? But what we need to do basically, so my background is that I worked for a lot of years, so 4 years already in the Google Cloud ecosystem before I joined Xebia 6 months ago. So I'm quite fresh, but I do understand how you work together with partners in the IT ecosystem. And that's what we're trying to establish in this market. So we need to find, first of all, the right people to join our company on both the sales side, of course, but also on the technical side. We need a very strong team there. Also, we want to build out the partnerships. So we want to contribute in terms of sharing knowledge, sharing about our use cases, getting people on stage from us, but also from others. We also want to collaborate with other partners in the ecosystem, work together for events, but also on customers, right? To bring and also show how we can contribute in those engagements. So that's what we try to do. So we will basically kickstart that, and when we have a solid foundation, right, we'll see how to continue. But that's the hardest part.
Yes.
Mostly.
Yes.
So
that makes a ton of sense. And as you're doing this expansion, it strikes me that you're going to be hiring a lot. We can go ahead and include in the show notes a link to your website if you've got a place where people can come and check you out, and especially folks in Atlanta who've got this subject matter expertise, and come and find you and see if they might be able to work with you. So okay, that's fascinating. And what really struck me when we were preparing for this was that you, I think, truly are bringing something new to the U.S. market, or at least a very unique approach to building the brand that you've built. And there were kind of 2 things that jumped out at me, and we can talk about either one of them first, whichever one you want to do. They both seem to be driven from this really fundamental belief in the importance of values, right? So the first one that I really grabbed onto was this idea of subject matter expertise and knowledge gathering, and the sort of unending quest for learning more in this space. Like, I loved what you said, that where this started. Like, the whole idea was, we want to put you forward as you join here. We want to put you forward as an expert. So whatever it takes to build you up to be an expert in this space, so that you can be on stage, or you can talk to customers and help them out, that's what we want to do. And I know we glossed over it a little bit earlier, but this idea that I mean, tell me about just as one small example, the book policy there. Like, let's go to that again, because that blew me away as a reader. Like, I think you mentioned something about, being able to get any book you want anytime. And
Yeah.
tell me about that.
Yeah, that's true. So as I mentioned, so we're really focused about the individual journey, right, of our consultants,
Yeah.
and they should be able to become an authority in their field, right? So if we are talking about, for example, a Google Cloud engineer, that person should be able to gather whatever knowledge that's there, right, and become that authority because he knows a lot. So what we basically said is, if you want to learn about a certain subject and you need a book, you should be able to buy it. So we have a policy that you can buy, let's say, unlimited books to study, right, to get more knowledge. You also have a training budget, and we want to stimulate that.
Yeah.
And another thing that we do is knowledge sharing. So internally, we have the Xebia knowledge exchange. So this is every month. Everyone is able to present something. So you just say, okay, I want to present about this subject because I have read this book, or I have finalized this project, or I've studied something else. And you can do that. And if you have a hobby, play the guitar, or you want to give a cooking class, also fine. We love that.
Yeah.
But we try to keep it mostly professional, but also the other topics are more than welcome.
Yes.
And that's a culture that we try to maintain here, that everyone it's a safe environment for talent to grow.
Yes.
And that way we also are able to maintain a very high percentage of people that stay at the company, right? People are very happy to work here, and we are, this is the value of our company, right? This is what we have. It's people.
Yeah, that's extraordinary. I mean, Google popularized unlimited free lunches. I like unlimited free books quite a bit more. I think I want to apply for something at Xebia and get a hold of that. So that's it is really impressive. Like I said, I think there's plenty of people who would stop, plenty of businesses who would stop at the statement of the value, which is we value learning and knowledge and constant personal and professional growth. Many sort of say that and then be done with it, but it's very clear that you have deeply integrated policies and procedures and cultural traditions that really honor the values you've got. Go ahead.
So that's actually also one of the reasons why I joined the company,
Yes,
right?
sure.
So I've worked at other companies, and I felt that, of course, work hard, play hard, and we care about people, and you hear all of that. But do they live these values? And I didn't really see that much, but at Xebia you can really feel it, right? It's everywhere. I've seen that, right? If a consultant tells us, I don't like this project, well, we're going to find you new. So it's all about having the best people on board, and to have the best people on board, you need to have these values and live with it.
Yes.
And then you will get, because those consultants, you put them on stage, they share their story, they share their knowledge, and then you get the cool project because people think, hey, these guys are really great, they're good, I want to work with them. And then we get the right projects. And if we have the right projects, again, we get the right consultants on board. So that's what we want to do. And to enable to do that, the fundamentals are living these values.
It's amazing. Yeah, and I see that very, very clearly. It came across in our first conversation, and having been exposed to thousands of businesses over the years myself, it is the very rare business that has the values, puts them forward, and then also is able to live them. So that's a huge accomplishment. Let me ask something else, and then maybe this is a good sort of segue into more of the values conversation, since that's so central here. So the other big theme that kind of jumped out, and we talked about this a little bit, is it seems to me that Xebia has been able to deliver this kind of boutique at scale kind of a result for clients, where even as you've grown to 100 and then 500 and then 1,000 and then 6,000 employees, that there is this sort of boutique touch. And as you and I discussed, I think it reminded me a little bit of the Trader Joe's story, right? In the U.S. here, where somebody that Joe, can't remember his last name, but the founder of Trader Joe's, who'd been in the grocery business forever with these sort of very large impersonal grocery stores, was able to kind of come up with this concept for something very boutique and then actually scale that. And to this day, any Trader Joe's you go to in the US has that sort of boutique, hand curated feel to it. And I don't know, the parallel may be sort of funny, but it jumped out at me as something that I think you guys have pulled off. So maybe you can say a little bit more about that. Am I off the mark there? Is that a fair assessment? And if it is a fair assessment, how do you think you got there?
Yeah, it's fair to say that. So over time, so we started as a team of 5 once, and we grew to 6,500, right? Over time. So that doesn't. If you grow to such a large company, you should think about yourself. So do I want to be everything for everyone? Do I want to help every company with every IT problem they have? You cannot, right? You will become a generalist. So we didn't want that. So basically, based on the philosophy of Eckhart Winsen, we created a cell model, as you call it. We call it more business units. But so we, for example, moved into security. We had some questions and we said, okay, we feel there's a lot of demand here because security is a more increasingly important topic in the market. How can we be good at that? Only if we hire very good people, strong people who are experts in that field and who are fully focused on security, only security, right? People with a background as ethical hacker or who've been in that space for a while. So that could be a business unit, and that business unit can grow. Then they can collaborate with, hey, we have a data issue. We need to work on this data platform, or the customer needs a data platform. We have a data unit taking care of that. And then we have a cloud unit taking care of something else. So that's the only way how we can scale and still keep our expertise in the business units.
Yes, I love that. Yeah, the kitchen sink marketing position, to be everything to everyone is it's an easy trap to fall into, and I think a lot of companies do. And one of the worst sales responses I think you can give is when somebody says, "Hey, can you do this and this and this and this?" To say, "Oh yeah, we can do it all." Like that's a
it's the same if you go to a restaurant, right?
Yeah.
If the menu is very, very large and you have a lot of options, it's mostly not that good.
And back to the sort of funny Trader Joe's analogy, that's also the secret to the success of Trader Joe's. Like they essentially said, no, we're not these things. We're this very specific thing, and we're not going to be for everybody. So yeah, that's very interesting. Well, and I guess then as we're sort of talking about this and talking about your unique position in the market, and it sounds like what will ultimately be a very unique value proposition that you bring to the U.S. In moving the headquarters here. There are other values that you talk to me about that are also kind of a big deal, and that you, I think, as I have heard you tell your story, Xebia has been able to also live into on a day-to-day basis. So this idea, it seems like the foundational one here is this idea about knowledge and about personal and professional growth and learning. And then off of that, you've got several others that have been instrumental in setting the stage for the culture there. What are the others that you find most animating or central to the mission there that you want to talk about?
So first of all, the most important one is authority. So in order to maintain our position in the market or grow our position in the market, we need to be seen as an authority in our field of a certain business unit. So that's one. Then we have people first. Whatever we do, it's the people delivering the work, right? And they are our reputation.
Yes.
So people first should be in everything. So we have the books, we have training budget, we have sharing knowledge. It's all about their personal journey. They can write blog posts, they can, so we basically nurture them as much as possible.
Yeah.
That is really the vibe you will see at Xebia. And also, if you walk into our offices, it doesn't feel like an office. It
Yep.
feels like a home, right? With couches, with a pool table, a piano. It's just very, more cozy, I would say. I don't know if that's the right
Yeah.
word for this. But yeah, that's our vibe.
So by the way, I want to just mention too, that one really struck me. I always like to understand if businesses are saying, people first, customers first, stakeholders and shareholders first, right? Those are sort of the three choices, and there's not necessarily any right or wrong, but I was fascinated to hear about your philosophy around people first and why that actually maximizes outcomes for the other two sort of pillars.
Yeah. So indeed, so we chose people first because if we don't have them, we don't have a company. That's one. But second of all, in IT, there's a scarcity, right? For talent, for good talent. If we can attract the right talent, the 9 out of 10s, we always strive for a 9 out of 10. Otherwise, we won't hire that person. That's our philosophy. And if we can attract those people, and those people we put on stage, we invest in their learning, in their journey, they will also drive opportunities towards us. So that's the whole wheel that we have turning here.
Yep.
So it's all about authority, about knowledge.
Yeah.
That's talent. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. And I suspect in an industry which you're in that has extremely high employee turnover, that approach probably really, really helps. Like I have to imagine that your turnover is, a fraction of the industry average as a result of taking that approach.
Exactly. Yeah. So people are very happy. And so I can speak for myself, right? But I can also see other around me, colleagues work here already for more than 10 years, for example, while other companies where I worked weren't even around for 10 years. And they already saw people coming and leaving within 1 or 2 years.
Yeah.
So we really strive to have a solid team.
Yeah.
And if you have the right people, you should treat them well, right? And that's what we do.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah. Well, as we're sort of rounding the bend here on our talk, I want to zoom out for a second. And you guys have a long and impressive history in this space, as you point out. Probably been around for longer than most other businesses that are sort of similarly situated. And it also strikes me that the values foundation that was laid down in the very beginning has been adhered to strictly in ways that have really driven that growth. So if you kind of were to take that history and project forward a little bit, you mentioned the idea of getting 50% of the business revenues from the U.S. in the coming say short or middle term period. What's anything else you can kind of talk about in terms of where's the business going to be in 18 months? Where's it going to be in 5 years? What is the bigger vision that has been shared and set? Where do you see this company going?
Good question. So in the last 2 or 3 years, we went times 6. So we're growing rapidly. So where do I see ourselves going? So for the area that I cover, I think we should be able to set a solid basis in the United States, right? So we now start in the South. So we opened in Georgia, but also in Texas already, and more areas are going to follow. We also are looking for other companies to join us. We share the same philosophy, want to be part of Xebia. They're welcome to join this family of companies. And what I think is that we should be able to, in 3 years from now, be a company of, let's say, 10K people at least, with a very solid and strong market presence also in the United States. So that's really our core focus at the moment, while maintaining our values, right? So that's the important part. And also the tricky part, probably in the United States, where there's a lot of remote working. We try to really get people into the office, have fun together, work together, and share.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, and I love that philosophy and that idea that it sounds to me like you're a company that needs to continue doing all the things that got you here, and given the size of the market, that's going to be an amazing recipe for growth.
Yeah, and maybe I also want to focus for a second on the customer side, right? So what makes our proposition unique, and that's always that we strive to share and transfer our knowledge. So we will be engaged with the customer for a certain period of time, and after that period of time, the customer should have achieved their goals, which also means they are in control of the processes that we help develop.
Yes.
And they should be able to maintain that towards the future and scale that out towards the future, right?
So
that's what we.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah. So I was basically finished, but that's the also one important part. So we share knowledge internally, but also externally. So the customers are also welcome to join our Xebia knowledge exchange, so they can learn. But we also, on every project, want to achieve the goals and the deliverables that we agreed upon. But we also want them to be fully in control after that, to maintain that. And we do this or by training. So we also have the Xebia Academy. So we train people in very specific things, but also in data democratization, for example, or the basics. So we can train full companies of 50 or 100,000 people, or a select group with a very expert topic. So that varies, but also on other projects, we like to work together so that the knowledge transfer will take place during the project, and afterwards that we help them to take that further.
That's really amazing. I mean, I would I want to call that out as it's a subtle point, but it's an incredibly bold choice to be that that much of an active participant in pushing the knowledge out. It strikes me as being reflective of both that value in terms of knowledge and growth and learning, and also kind of reminds me of growth versus fixed mindset, right? So I think there are a lot of folks in the IT services and consulting space that have a fixed mindset, and if you have a fixed mindset about this kind of work, you want to hold on to the knowledge, because letting it out becomes a threat to the work that you're doing, right? And you guys have chosen, I think correctly, the opposite tact, which is no, this is such a large and growing space. There's always going to be more to learn. It's always changing. And in that setting, the appropriate strategy is to push all the knowledge out. And just know that by doing that, you're building your brand. You're making folks who are going to keep coming back to you, and it's essentially a renewable resource that because knowledge is being created every day, new technology, new products, new platforms, new approaches to doing the work, and so there really is no threat that you're going to give everything away and not have any business. But like I said, it's a bolder choice than I think is obvious on the surface.
We believe there's always work for talented people. So it's one, but I also feel it's fair to say that we want to be superfluous. We don't want to be necessary anymore after the first project. While we also see a lot of vendor lock-ins in the market. We don't want to be, and companies don't want to be dependent on us, but let us help them and enable them to achieve their goals, and not create that vendor lock-in, because I think no one's happy with that in the end. So let's really try to help a company move forward in what way or another. So yeah,
Amazing.
that's our strategy.
Well, that's great. Well, Steyn, look, that's a great place for us to stop. I think that's an amazing story, and it's very rare that I talk to a company where I walk away from it saying, not only would I like to work with Xebia at some point, but I'd like to work for Xebia at some point, because I have a lot more books I want to get, and I love this commitment to knowledge and learning and personal growth. It's really extraordinary. So I want to thank you so much for being on the show today. This was an amazing conversation. We had an incredible first conversation preparing for it, and I had high hopes, and it's totally delivered in this show. So thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it, and I look forward to having an opportunity to go snowboarding with you sometime in the U.S. You've
Absolutely.
snowboarded in Europe. I've only snowboarded in the U.S. Let's get you out to Colorado or California and go snowboarding sometime.
Perfect. Thanks for having me. Also, I really liked this talk, and yeah, let's go snowboarding or cooking sometime. All fine.
That would be wonderful.
It was a great conversation.
Loved it, Steyn. Thank you so much.